Okay. Suspicion would continue to follow this group when Percy Jackson, Grover Underwood, Bianca D'Angelo allegedly, Thalia Grace allegedly, and an unidentified teenage girl made an appearance at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. Unidentified? Zoe Nightshade. She was a hunter of Artemis who went on this quest with us. Well, I wasn't technically supposed to be on the quest, but I followed them because they were trying to track down Annabeth and Artemis. Mostly Artemis. I found that unacceptable. You got kidnapped? When? By the Manticore at Westover Hall. They think he took the D'Angelos? False. He took me. What happened to Zoe? She did not survive the quest. But, I mean, she'd been around for like 2,000 years. Actually, she was the one who owned Riptide originally before she gave it to Hercules and so on, and I wound up with it. Wait, do you think that's why Riptide is a girl? That is a solid theory. You know, Zoe disguised Riptide as a hair clip originally when it was forged. Did you choose the pen? No, it was like that when I got it. I didn't realize you could change it until I met Zoe, but by then I was already used to it. Can we go back to you saying that your sword is a girl? How do you know that? Oh. We met a talking sword recently. His name was Jack. And he was flirting with Riptide. It was incredibly weird. Was Jack owned by somebody? Yes, but we don't have time to unpack all that. Actually, Annabeth Chase C-related articles might actually touch on it, so by the time we get there, I'll make up my mind if I want to tell you about Boston or not. Well, that's cryptic. A disturbance followed, reportedly involving a stray dog being let into the museum. The Nemean lion, but okay. Property damage, theft of freeze-dried astronaut food from the gift shop, and security guards chasing the teens out of the museum and off the property. Authorities called to the scene attempted to gather a report from the guards on duty, but incredibly suspiciously, the guards did not return to the museum after pursuing the teens off the property, and the museum was unable to give the names of the guards seen in the security footage, claiming all of their security was accounted for. With the identity of the guards thrown into question, people began to speculate that there may be something tying this instance to the Westover Hall incident other than the recurring cast of characters. The security footage becomes more sinister when you consider that this is the last recorded sighting of Bianca D'Angelo. Her brother, Nico D'Angelo, has been cited many times in years to come, and their case remains open and ongoing, especially for online time travel conspiracy theorists. See related articles. Investigators began to speculate that there must be some sort of compelling force behind the consistent back-and-forth travel and disturbances caused by these specific children. It's never the same group of people, and many seem to come and go, but they act like they have a purpose, or as if they are carrying out some sort of bidding or mission. The only constant variable being the presence of one Percy Jackson, which is where our story focuses. I'm sorry. Theories have ranged from general delinquency all the way to cult activity, saying that the children could be acting on the directions of a charismatic leader or authority figure that is yet to be identified. Wilder theories have suggested that the leader could be Jackson himself, considering his links to all these incidents, but outlying factors such as missing person cases and other unexplained occurrences that predate Jackson disqualify this theory almost completely. They think you're a cult leader? I feel like the people at AHS would have been a lot nicer to me if they genuinely thought I ran a cult. If the cult theory has any credibility, it would suggest that Percy Jackson is at least close to or valued by the cult leader, or the total opposite, considering how prevalently his name is dragged through the mud in these scenarios. One would expect cults to rely more on secrecy, avoiding media coverage if at all possible, or this could all be a large red herring for a more sinister plot. They're getting weirdly close. Despite explosions and general property damage during these sightings of Jackson and his accomplices, there have been no reported injuries to the general public. Many people reported that there was no danger spotted at all, only those actually involved being seen with any kind of injuries or reacting as if there was anything to be feared. We must look absolutely insane to onlookers, just running from things that they can't see. This has led some to look with a more scrutinizing eye at the idea that these incidents could be entirely staged. Returning to the Smithsonian, some people have suggested these unnamed guards were placed there in uniform and the teens may have been in on the whole thing. No, they were just skeleton warriors. Nico. I didn't have anything to do with that. I didn't even know Hades was my dad at this point. They were after me kinda by accident. I wasn't the original target. Nico. I did not have bloodlust at 8 years old, Hazel. Silence. It was justified. Fair. That implies you have bloodlust now. Would you like to find out? Perhaps it is all just a confusing act, Could Dr. Thorne, with his absence of credentials, have been an actor as well? One could even scrutinize the unidentified man on the beach attempting to fight a 12-year-old with a gun with this lens of being entirely fake. This is an interesting theory and is a popular one due to the sporadic and seemingly without clear purpose actions of these teens, but comes to a dead end when we begin to ask what the purpose is and who may be orchestrating these events, because again, no purpose can be ascertained. Nothing seems to be gained, no progress towards a goal is made, and most theories fall flat of just speculation. However, not everything has to have a purpose, and there is one seeming incident where a life insurance policy was gained. Still, the disappearances, Bianca D'Angelo for example, and wandering of these minors is one to be discussed, not ignored. That's when I lost my sister. Oh, sorry. Yeah, she chose rebirth though. Relatively recently, actually, so she's probably chilling somewhere as a baby by now. Do-overs are pretty nice, I would know. Yeah, I hope she's having a way better time this time around, cause... ugh. If I did one more go-round, would that count as 3? Would I qualify for the Isles of the Blessed? That is a good question. You'd be stuck with like the mega heroes though, so we wouldn't be able to hang out. You wouldn't want a do-over? I am 80-something years old. I'm not doing this shit again. You could already be on your 3rd life and have no idea. I do wonder about that sometimes though. Like why us 7 in particular were expected to fulfill this great prophecy. Like, it's not my first time here, so maybe the rest of you are on a victory lap as well. That is a terrifying thought. Because you can't really argue, oh, it was experience, because Frank had only been at camp for a couple months before the beginning of the quest, and you also can't really argue special or rare abilities, because Annabeth doesn't really have anything other than experience and pure grit. No offense. No, I'm well aware I don't have any cheat codes. Intelligence is something you can gain, but I can't just study to become a freaking waterbender. So I do wonder what the tie is, other than just, like, fate. Handpicked Jason and Percy and swapped them and just saw who they picked up along the way, adding up to 7, even though technically Nico was on the quest, so it should have been 8, which also means that we can't argue that it was the children of the big 3 because of Nico and Thalia's exclusion. I don't think I was just picked up by Jason. To be fair, I've been dealing with Gaia for longer than all of you. That is very true. I'm also loosely connected to Hazel's first life as well. And you died and came back, so you're on a do-over. I don't think I count, because I don't think my soul ever actually left my body, because I never wound up in the underworld, I just woke back up in my body. You didn't go anywhere? No, but I definitely died. I'd like to believe that it was because I was the captain of the Argo too, like a proper pirate, so instead of going to the underworld, I just wound up in the gravy basket for a little. Like Blackbeard. Yeah, the gravy basket or Davy Jones' locker or something, and Festus had to go get me. Ooh, missed opportunity to play the chain over the ship's intercom while we were being attacked. Ooh, or just like anything by Hans Zimmer. I would have genuinely lost my mind if you did that. The dreaded Pirate Valdez. Commander Toolbelt, the supersized McShizzle of the sea. Fun fact, we've met him. The supersized McShizzle? No, Blackbeard. The real one, not the one from Our Flag Means Death. How did you do that? Remember the guinea pig incident I told you was classified? Yes. Elaborate. Percy got turned into a guinea pig on Circe's Island, and then got stuck with a bunch of other pirates that had been turned hundreds of years ago, including Blackbeard, who we then accidentally un-guinea pigged as a distraction to escape the island. And that is why Reyna hates me so much. That's why? An abbreviated version of it. I never explained why Hyla had such beef with me when we were with the Amazons. Well, I didn't remember. Who's that? Reyna's sister who was trying to kill Percy. Okay, and we're just chill with that? What's a little attempted murder between friends? Oh. Returning back to the facts. This incident reignited the game of Where's Waldo, and sightings of this group were reported in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, and at the Hoover Dam in Nevada, where a short altercation with other tourists happened. It is suggested that this was a result of the group being recognized after Jackson was seen running through the dam and hiding in a restroom from something unseen. There was even a ridiculous report that the Hoover Dam angel statues were briefly missing after this altercation ended, which is of course entirely out of the realm of possibility, but we choose to mention it to show how quickly people begin to make up false stories when there's potential news coverage involved. If it weren't for the advent of security cameras, these cross-country chases could be considered an awful game of telephone. Fun fact, I ran into Rachel Elizabeth Dare there and tried to convince her that my sword was a baseball bat. And what was the crowd reaction to that? She did not believe me. Pretty sure she thought I was insane. She was thinking, wait, is that cult leader from the news? That is a fair possibility. In loose connection to this case, an odd incident occurred late at night near Mount Tamalpais. A destroyed vehicle was found after apparently spinning out on the road up the mountain and subsequently exploding. Damage suggested the car was struck by lightning and was then abandoned. No authorities were alerted and no bodies were recovered. The car was simply left there. Vehicle was a yellow VW convertible registered to one Frederick Chase. Uh-oh. Chase is a military and American history professor at West Point. This is significant because Chase is in partial ownership of a restored Sopwith Camel biplane, and what is speculated to be around the same time that night, it was reported that the biplane took off from Crissy Field, then returned and landed with a second aircraft mere miles from the crash. Eyewitnesses' description demonstrated foggy memory of the second aircraft, but were certain of the Sopwith Camel being involved. Aliens. Or like Artemis. Oh, you're joking. Professor Chase was fined for the unauthorized flight and gave a flimsy excuse about maintenance for the old plane, but some theorize this was an attempt to retrieve the vehicle or attend the scene of the crime. It seems clear that Chase was not in operation of the vehicle when it was destroyed, and law enforcement claimed Chase was most likely trying to avoid the legal battle that can ensue when a non-owner of a vehicle is operating it during a crash. He potentially flew up to try to stage the scene before calling authorities, but they postulated that due to the nature of the crash, or rather explosion, Chase decidedly stepped back on this attempt and was confronted by authorities about the unauthorized flight before he could report anything having to do with his car, resulting in his flimsy excuse. Nothing malicious was suspected until the car was taken to be totaled. Inside the car were several destroyed belongings. This is where our story picks up. When pressed as to who was driving the vehicle, Chase refused to answer, insisting that it was himself. Authorities investigated deeper into the belongings, and a backpack was found with a wallet containing a Metro card registered to one Sally Jackson. Damn. If you recall, Sally Jackson is the mother of Percy Jackson, and pressing further into this connection, it was discovered that Frederick Chase is the father of the aforementioned Annabeth Chase, a known associate of Percy Jackson. This connection reasonably places at least one of the Jacksons in Professor Chase's car at some point. They may not be definitively involved in the accident, but were at least in the car at some point recently. It can be reasonably inferred that after the altercation at the Hoover Dam, Jackson continued in the same direction, landing in San Francisco, and potentially meeting with Professor Chase. Chase's actions prior to this were not noted, and some have said he could have been involved much earlier in transporting these children across the country. I wish that could have been helpful. Perhaps the children were operating the vehicle, and he flew to the explosion site to retrieve them. This would fit very nicely into law enforcement's theory as to why Chase did not contact the authorities about his vehicle. I am shocked about the accuracy of that theory. Just wait for it. However, this doesn't explain the presence of the second aircraft. The aliens! Nebulously described, the aircraft did not remain in Crissy Field and left soon after appearing, but the evidence at the scene showed two distinct takeoffs and landings, only one of which was made by the Sopwith Camel. With this new addition to the story, conspiracy theorists went wild claiming that the craft could be alien. I take everything back. A detail yet to be mentioned was the fact that upon further investigation, it was determined that the machine guns on the biplane were functional and had been used, theorists suggesting an unfriendly encounter between the two crafts. The second aircraft has not been identified, and it has been difficult to even speculate what kind of craft it was without any solid defining features from eyewitnesses and no physical evidence. Theorists took this a step further to insist that it was not a coincidence that the famous haunted cruise, the Princess Andromeda, was docked in the vicinity of Mount Tam, and pointing out that this is the second instance of a car related to the Jacksons being struck by lightning and subsequently destroyed, chalking this entire case to some grand underground conspiracy having to do with aliens.